recently, uh, new pool, new, sorry, not pools, polls for, the 2028 presidential election, just dropped. And I just want to go over what these, basically what these national polls are saying. And, like, if the election were to take place right now, how that would look, okay? So, out of all these candidates, Buttigieg is, yep, Pete Buttigieg is doing the best out of all of them, only being behind JD Vance by around 1%, but still losing by 1%, at the end of the day. But one interesting thing to look at here is that most undecided people, you see, the same amount of people would vote for JD Vance if it was AOC or Pete Buttigieg. But we see 2% of the undecided vote goes to Pete, and between AOC and Pete Buttigieg, where in Newsom and Vance, the 2%, or I guess the 2% is split between Newsom and Vance, but we can clearly see that Newsom isn't very liked. I am kind of surprised at how low AOC is, but, understandable. So I want to go ahead and fill out this map, which, this national poll only has JD Vance as the nominee. So I went ahead against JD Vance and his likely running mate in this scenario, Marco Rubio. And why this poll, and what this poll basically tells us. So in a scenario where JD Vance is polling 1% nationally above even the best Democrat, and especially 3% nationally better than Newsom or AOC. Texas is going to be safe. Florida is going to be safe. South Carolina is going to be safe. Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, Ohio will all be safe. And then Democrats will probably have less safe states. You could maybe see a push for Oregon, but probably not. Colorado's probably going to stay safe. To be safe for me, you have to go to the one party by 10% or more. New Jersey will not go back into the safe column. Vermont, Delaware, DC, all of Maine. So after we do the safe states, it's 179 to 218 JD Vance above the Democrat. And then now let's get into the likelies. Now, let's pull up the 2024 election map. Well, Kamala Harris only won Minnesota by around 4%, won New Mexico by 6%. So in this map, we see the right, or I guess the Republicans, continue to do very well. And the only likely I will have in this scenario is probably not New Hampshire, this district of Maine, and that's about it. I mean, you could probably see New Jersey gain maybe 1% back to the Democrats, but besides that, I don't really see anything else happening. And maybe Virginia, because the current Republican candidate for governor is doing awful in Virginia, so I could see that translate to the national stage. But in a scenario where JD Vance is polling 3% better than these two Democrat nominees, that would mean Arizona could go into likely column. We saw Trump win it by 5.5%. I could very easily see JD Vance in a scenario where he's polling a point better than Trump did against Harris, win Arizona by 6.5%, especially with Marco Rubio on the ticket, which would probably help him expand to a more moderate base and probably be able to sway over a few more independents than JD Vance or than Trump. Also, Nevada went to Trump by 3.1%. We could see that margin stay in a scenario where JD Vance is polling 3% better. Also, North Carolina, could shift a little bit more to the right, but it's probably going to stay in that 3% margin. And after that, this is already 3 swing states locked down in this scenario. And Minnesota will probably go to the Democrats by around 4-5%, say with New Mexico and New Hampshire too. So after we get out off the obvious states in this scenario, it's 225 to 252 Republicans up with J.D. Vance. And we know one thing, Republicans have been doing amazing in Pennsylvania. The polling numbers in Pennsylvania are really good, not on like a state level, but at a general level. The Republican voter registration has continued to rise month after month after month since the 2024 election, and Democrat voter registration has kept falling down, going down, down, down. And independent voter registration is also going up. So Pennsylvania's leaning in the margin of Republicans. The only swing state that you could say is leaning to the Democrats right now is if Pete Buttigieg is the nominee and he has ties to Michigan. So I do think that could help someone like Pete Buttigieg win this if he's on the ticket. And you could also make an argument for Wisconsin since it was the closest state to voting for Harris in the 2024 election or swing state. But after that, it's already up. And Trump won Georgia by 2.2 points. And in this scenario, where J.D. Vance is winning by a point over Pete Buttigieg, and Pete Buttigieg, even their strongest nominee, does terrible with minority voters. And we could see possibly very low progressive turnout for Pete Buttigieg too. So I could very easily see a place where Georgia votes as much Republican as North Carolina does. So I just want to go over what these first early 2028 polls mean for the overall 2028 election. And I thank you all for watching, and peace out.